Uh, Question, Steve. Is it okay to use the personal pronoun? Okay, it's a good question. Well, first of all, what is the personal pronoun? Um, the personal pronoun is the representative of your localized consciousness, you see. And as a representative of your localized consciousness, you can say what you want, what you need. You can speak to your family, friends, your children. You can communicate at work. I think the problem, however, is when we lose ourselves to it. And what do I mean by losing ourselves to it? What is it you lose to it? Well, what you lose to it is what comes first. What comes prior the pronoun? What comes prior the pronoun is the prior condition, which is consciousness itself. If you lose consciousness to the pronoun, if the pronoun becomes a central position of all experience, then you're deluded. That in itself is a lie, that in itself is an illusion. But it doesn't mean that the personal pronoun is wrong. It just means you're identifying yourself as the personal pronoun. When prior the condition of the personal pronoun is the ultimate condition, which is consciousness itself. So in the beginning, you are caught up in the pronoun. You call yourself I, and you don't know your essential nature. So you start saying, well, I'm not the personal pronoun. I'm not this, I'm not that. And somewhere along the line, you awaken to the prior conditions of the pronoun and you go, ah, it's this as is. It's this awareness. And then when you awaken to awareness, it's very easy to make the mistake, I think, for some people, if the awakening is not full, if it's not, if awareness doesn't open enough to see beyond the attachment to the personal pronoun, I think what happens is you can get pulled back into the personal pronoun and start disliking the personal pronoun because you've had a taste of open awareness and you want that and you don't want this. But the truth is, if you truly awaken to the prior condition, if you truly awaken to this moment and you come to see that it's non-personal, that there is an I amness or a witness or a pure consciousness or as some people call it, a nothingness, a gnosis. If you come to see that, if you inquire into that, if you investigate into that as that awareness, if that awareness starts to inquire into itself, it does come to see it as the self. It's a body of reality that has no personal pronoun. That is true. What is left then is one knows who one is as consciousness. So one comes to know themselves prior to the pronoun as a non-personal consciousness. And that is as is. But then when that occurs, you can't go through life speaking to your children, your partner, you can't name it, you can't go around saying you're just pure consciousness, formless presence. You can't You can't keep going around saying, "Oh, this is all an illusion. There is only this, and do this." Can't do that. It's silly. Unless you're trying to teach someone, you know, how to distinguish the isness from the here-ness. Of course, if it's in a room where you're trying to teach someone the difference between form and the formless, then of course you'll do that. But it's not to be taken into the marketplace. It's not to be taken into the home as an example of living. That's an example of teaching. The example of living comes when this awakening occurs, and then you have a different reference point to life. You have a deeper reference point than the pronoun that appears. And the deeper reference point is the very intimacy of reality itself, is presence. You're being present with people. But you'll still use the personal pronoun. You still say to your friends, "Oh, I'll meet you there." How much? You'll say to the vendor, "How much do you want for that? How much must I give you?" You can't go around just saying this is all an illusion. In fact, if anything, what happens when awakening occurs, when consciousness itself becomes first, is you start to see that the personal pronoun is just an object that appears in that consciousness, and it's not separate from the consciousness. It's just seeing that the root source of experience is not that thought I. So I is not the central position of your experience of your body anymore. That falls away. That's the tendency that falls away. But what is left is the root source of this object we call I, the thought. The root source of that, the central position of experience of that, is consciousness itself. The I thought doesn't even experience itself. It becomes a channel, it becomes a vehicle for expression. But the experience itself is consciousness. That's probably going a bit too far. You probably may not understand that, but that's where it's at. So it's to be integrated. So in the beginning, you have to distinguish your essential nature from the object that appears as I. And then when that occurs, it's then integrating this object I into its true association, that being consciousness, and consciousness being the root source of that object. And then the outer becomes the inner, and the inner becomes the outer, you see. It's a bit mind-boggling, isn't it? But the point being is the personal pronoun is fine. There's two stages of seeing that you're not that, and then there's a stage of integrating that. It's like that saying, mountains are not mountains, and then mountains are not mountains, and then mountains are mountains. It's like you're not the I thought. Sorry, you are the I thought. Then you're not the I thought, and then there is the I thought. It all it's a paradox. In the beginning, however, when we're distinguishing awareness from the form that appears, it's very, very cut and dry, isn't it? Netty, netty. It's you're not this, you're not that. In the beginning, it's distinguishing awareness from form. But then you come to see how consciousness is form and form is consciousness. That's just how it is. Personal pronoun is fine. It's a natural phenomena that conveys language, conveys a relative point of communication. But behind it is the true communication, what we call I am, as is.